Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobbycapucci, and this is Daily Drop number 95. 95, huh? That means 95 straight nights we've been here. It's almost like a fireside chat at this point, you know? Sitting around the fire, we got a book out, I'm in my rocking chair, I have a blanket over me that someone crocheted for me. It reads, "Turning Predators into Prey." And we sit around and we talk about the news. And hopefully you folks are all going to these sites that these articles are published by and clicking on them and reading them, as well as listening to me talk about them, because it's important for you to read them yourselves. So always go to the description or just Google the article yourself and go and check it out. Make sure you read it. And a lot of these articles we're reading aren't, part of the problem. These articles we're reading are, a lot of them aren't from legacy outlets. And it's the legacy outlets that have a lot to answer for. The big powerhouse outlets. Outlets like the Daily Beast and, the Inquisitor and, even outlets kind of in the vein of Vanity Fair who've trying to make a comeback now and really reporting hard on this case. But more along the lines of like Daily Beast and Mint Press News and, other smaller, more guerrilla journalistic type outfits. Those are the people that are really reporting on this story. Those are the articles that are, the ones that are really doing some investigative journalism. And every now and then, don't get me wrong, the legacy media has some really good investigative journalists. There's no doubt about it. They know what they're doing. But they're not focused on this the way that some of the smaller outlets or less mainstream, as in legacy mainstream, is. Like the Daily Beast has pretty much daily reports about the Jeffrey Epstein case at this point. And they do a really good job of, being as in-depth as possible. And nobody has all of the information, right now. Nobody has all of it. So I think the Daily Beast and outlets like that do a really good job of at least covering the story, right? So if people are covering the story and they're publishing it, what happens is people like us who are hungry for the news, well, we read it. And then we dig deeper because, of course, the reports only go so far. They only have so many words. They can only have, they have so many words that they can use to print up their story. So they only can add so much. And then it's up to us, if we're interested in that story, to dig a little bit deeper. And then you hope that the publication will add follow-up stories to it. A lot of times we don't see that, but sometimes we do. But I think that we're so deep in it now, so many articles deep, and we've been doing this for so long now. I think everybody that's listening to this podcast at this point takes it upon themselves to do their own research. I mean, I would really hope that you folks are doing that. I know you don't have the time to dig in really deep, a lot of you, and that's where I come in, and I help fill in the gaps. That's basically what I do here. I'm filling in the gaps for you. But there's a lot of you that send me article upon article, and I'll tell you what, it's awesome, because without you guys hooking me up, there's a listener named Chad who's always sending me really great articles. And I learn a lot from you folks as well, because like I say all the time, I don't know everything about this case. I read the same articles as you guys do, and it's just, I interpret them differently sometimes. Maybe I'll catch things that you miss, and a lot of times the listeners that send me emails catch things that I might have missed. So it's like I always say, it's not about me, it's about we on this podcast. And we're making really good inroads, folks. 95 straight days here, the Daily Drop, us chatting. Like I was saying, I'm in my rocking chair with the nice crochet blanket over me. We're having some hot chocolate, and we're talking about the news and how it impacts our lives, and how this story in particular impacts our lives. And I don't just mean our lives personally, because, of course, none of us are impacted directly. I mean, I shouldn't say none of us are impacted directly. I don't really know who all's listening out there, right? But I know that I'm not directed the same way impacted the same way somebody like, say, Virginia Roberts is impacted. I'm like what you would call somebody who is, like the rest of you. We're enraged taxpayers, people who have had enough, people who want to see some justice done. We want to see the justice system be blind, and we want to see it be fair. Is that too much to ask? That is all that we're asking. And in this case, we have not seen it, folks. We have not seen that. So I hope that in this coming year, with the investigation into Ghislaine Maxwell, the second head of the Hydra, I think that it's going to be a put up or shut up year for the Justice Department and all of the folks that have lost their credibility with their actions in the past, not only just 3 years, but the past 15, 20 years, folks. How many times are they going to lie? How many times are they not going to give us the whole story? You know, the omission of truth is a lie as well, and they love to do that. And again, like I've said several times, I don't mean the agents on the ground. I'm sure there's a ton of great agents that truly want to see justice be served. And the problem is, it's a bureaucracy. So even if they do good work and they kick it up the chain, there's some bureaucrat who thinks it's politically dangerous or politically volatile, so they'll bury it, or they won't pursue it, or they'll tell the agent, we'll take care of it, and then the agent moves on to whatever else he's assigned, right? You can only do so much. And then you have whistleblowers, and we've seen that several times in situations, maybe not like with Jeffrey Epstein, but we've seen whistleblowers from the NSA, Edward Snowden, William Binney, and Chelsea Manning from the military intelligence. So, we have whistleblowers, a ton of them. So, I don't know. It's just one of those things where you have to just shake your head and say to yourself, what in the hell is really going on, folks? All right, tonight we have an article from the Inquisitor, Inquisitr, Inquisitor, and it was penned by Tyler McDonald. And Tyler has done some he's done some really good work. A lot of the articles that he writes, really good work. They do a lot of they follow a lot of good patterns, and he seems to get right to the point, no BSing around, doesn't seem to have too much nonsensical bias in the stuff he writes. And they've all been pretty good, so I'm guessing that this article will be no different. All right, so the headline: Jeffrey Epstein's suicide explanation has too many inconsistencies, says former U.S. attorney. A recent CBS 60-minute segment revealed disturbing new photos of the body of accused sex trafficker, pedophile, Jeffrey Epstein, and the orange sheets he allegedly used to hang himself. In the wake of the segment, former Utah U.S. Attorney Brett Tolman appeared on Fox News' Fox and Friends on Tuesday to express his doubt over the suicide's explanation that has been tied to Epstein's death. According to Tolman, there are too many gaps and inconsistencies to label the case a definitive suicide, which he believes prosecutors are eager to do in the wake of the New York City's medical examiner's office ruling. Well, again, you have another person who is obviously been involved in this sort of thing in their life, right? He's a prosecutor, an ex-prosecutor. I'm sure he's seen his share of murders and homicides, and I'm sure he's seen his share of suicides. And according to him, he agrees with Dr. Baden that there's not enough evidence here to just label it a suicide to make it a definitive case. And I think that a lot of people are saying, right? Me, I'm perfectly willing to admit it was a suicide, but I just want some transparency from the government that, they work for us, right? We don't live in, some a society. Well, we're not supposed to live in a society where the government can pick and choose what sort of information they put out there and what they don't put out there, unless, of course, it's a state secret and it's labeled classified. This sort of stuff isn't classified, though. This isn't the sort of thing that's going to, affect the security of the nation. So I think that they should be a lot more transparent in this case. It may be a while before we are able to put this to bed, and this just makes it even more difficult, Tolman said. Tolman believes that the key to the mystery lies with the two guards working at the time of Epstein's death, both of whom were indicted on charges of falsifying records and conspiracy. That's an interesting angle. I wonder where he's going with that. It may seem like they are the scapegoats, and in some ways they are, but they are the only ones that can piece together what occurred in those moments, why the body was moved against protocol, why there were so many monumental failures. Well, is that true, though? Who was the supervisor on duty? There has to be a manager on duty. When I worked in the casino industry in Las Vegas, there was always an MOD. So let's say late at night, overnight, there'd always be someone that was the manager on duty who could handle situations if they arose. There has to be somebody like that here, right? Where's the sergeant? Where's the lieutenant? How come those people aren't being how come they aren't in trouble as well? If their employees are in trouble, well, doesn't that get kicked up to the top? Doesn't the man that's in charge end up, being in charge, right? You got to take the blame if you're going to take the glory. When things go wrong, you got to be there to stand tall, just like if things go right and you're getting that medal pinned on your chest. So where are those people, and how come they're not being brought up on charges? I'm not saying that there's some legal basis for it. I don't know. Once again, I'm not a lawyer, folks. But again, can we have some answers, please? Noting his experience as a prosecutor, Tolman said that he would be really concerned about some of the facts presented in the case. Tolman said that his approach to such facts would be to flush them out with witnesses or apply the pressure to get such witnesses to talk to determine if there's anything more happening. Well, that's basically the premise for this whole case, right? Shouldn't that be what we're doing to, well, us, I say we. Shouldn't that be what the FBI and the government's doing to Ghislaine Maxwell and her cohorts? Shouldn't Sarah Kellen Vickers and Leslie Groff and Adriana Ross and Marcinkova all be trying to be flipped right now? You would think, right? Because we want to know, when you have the highest profile criminal defendant and you have the largest budget of any agency in the Department of Justice, you can't keep him safe? That reaction is absolutely 100% correct. How can you be so incompetent? How can you be so incompetent, folks? Dr. Michael Baden has also cast doubt on Epstein's alleged suicide and reaffirmed his beliefs during the 60 Minutes broadcast. Baden pointed to the broken bones in Epstein's neck, suggesting that such injuries were not common in suicides by hanging and were more frequently found in homicidal strangulation cases. According to Baden, he has never seen anything similar to the 3 fractures Epstein suffered in the over 1,000 jail hangings and suicides in the New York City state prisons he visited during the past 40 to 50 years. Now, there has to be a record of that, right? Of those suicides and hangings, and somebody should pull those records and go through them with a fine-tooth comb. One of the people that work for Baden, right? I'm sure that's something that's possible. Those records are probably public. And then again, you know what? I shouldn't say they probably are. You would think they are, but I don't know if they are public, or maybe they can sue to get those records or whatever. But let's see them. Let's see what Dr. Baden's talking about. If he's not telling the truth, then why don't they debunk him by saying, look, this is not factual. Here are the papers. You guys can look at them for yourself. As the Inquisitor previously reported, no surveillance video showed Epstein's reported suicide, which has further fueled theories that the convicted sex offender, pedophile, was murdered. In addition, numerous New York City officials have reportedly pushed for answers and suggested that the circumstances of Epstein's death are suspicious. You think? Not just them. Everybody thinks it's suspicious. Even people that are, normal people that usually have no interest in stuff like this hear about this case and they're like, what? What are you talking about? There's no way that can be true. And, well, here we are. It's as true as could be. The only 2 people so far that are arrested, folks, are these 2 guards. How is that even possible? How is it even possible? So, we carry on. We'll see what tomorrow brings. We'll see what new news rolls in, and we will go from there. If you'd like to get in touch with me, you can do that at Bobbycapucci at protonmail.com. That's BOBBYCAPUCCI at protonmail.com. And remember, go to the description box and click on the link. Check out the article. And if you want to help support the podcast, you can also click on the GoFundMe link that you can find there. We'll be back tomorrow, folks, and we'll do it all over again. Have a great evening.